Have you ever heard a story so mysterious, so chilling, that even the US Army could never explain it? This isn't a legend. This isn't folklore. This is a real military report from the Vietnam War. A story about a patrol that walked into the jungle and never came back. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear is the full declassified account of one of the most baffling mysteries of modern warfare. It was the late 1960s. The Vietnam War was at its peak, a brutal and disorienting conflict. American soldiers were pushing deep into enemy territory, fighting not just the Viet Cong but also the unforgiving jungle itself. The heat, the humidity, the unseen dangers lurking in the shadows, it was a battle on multiple fronts. In one particularly dense sector of Vietnamese forest, a US Army unit, a squad of about a dozen experienced men, was given what seemed like a routine order. Their mission was simple: scout the area ahead, gather intelligence on enemy movements, and report back to base by nightfall. The squad set out early in the morning, the jungle air already thick and heavy. They were fully equipped: M16 rifles, radios for communication, detailed maps, and enough supplies to last them. These men were well trained, hardened by combat, and prepared for the worst. But nothing in their training could have prepared them for what was about to happen. Hours began to crawl by. The sun reached its peak and started its slow descent. Back at the command post, the radio operator listened intently. The expected check-in time came and went. Silence. He tried to raise the patrol, his voice cutting through the static. "Patrol, Bravo 6. This is command. Do you copy?" Over. No response. At first, the commanders weren't overly concerned. Delays were common. Maybe they had encountered enemy movement and were maintaining radio silence. Perhaps a piece of equipment had failed in the harsh jungle environment. But as dusk turned to night, and the jungle erupted into a chorus of unseen creatures, a heavy sense of unease settled over the camp. The silence from Patrol Bravo 6 was no longer just a delay, it was a void. The next morning, as the first light broke through the thick canopy, a full-scale search and rescue operation was launched. Helicopters sliced through the air, their rotor blades beating against the humid atmosphere, while ground troops were deployed to retrace the patrol's last known route. They moved cautiously, eyes scanning every shadow, every vine. The search party quickly found the initial trail. They saw footprints pressed into the damp earth, broken branches where the men had pushed through the dense undergrowth. The signs of a dozen soldiers moving through the jungle were clear. The trail led them deeper and deeper into the forest, and then it just stopped. Abruptly. It was as if the men had been walking one moment and had simply been lifted off the face of the earth the next. The jungle had swallowed them whole. There were no signs of a struggle, no discarded gear, no bloodstains, no bullet casings. The trail didn't scatter as it would in an ambush, it simply vanished. The search teams fanned out, combing every inch of the surrounding area. Days turned into weeks. More patrols were sent out, more helicopter flyovers. They searched for bodies, for weapons, for a single helmet or a torn piece of a uniform. They found nothing. It was as if the entire squad had been erased from existence. Back at the base, official explanations were few and far between. Some soldiers whispered about a perfectly executed Viet Cong ambush, a trap so sophisticated it left no trace. But even the most skilled guerrilla fighters leave behind evidence: bullet shells, blood-disturbed ground from a hasty burial. Here there was nothing. It defied all military logic. Other theories began to surface. Maybe the jungle itself was the culprit. The patrol could have stumbled into a hidden sinkhole, a vast, unexplored cave system, or a patch of treacherous quicksand. But again, a search of that magnitude should have turned up something. A piece of a backpack, a boot, some sign that men had been there. The absence of evidence was more terrifying than the presence of it. And that's when the rumors started. Soldiers from nearby units began to speak in hushed tones, away from the watchful eyes of their commanding officers. They spoke of the jungle being haunted, a place with its own dark consciousness. Some claimed they heard disembodied screams echoing through the trees at night. Screams that sounded eerily like their missing comrades, long after the patrol was officially gone. Others swore they saw ghostly, shimmering figures moving between the trees at the edge of their vision, only to disappear when they looked directly. One American GI, in a letter home that was later published, wrote something that perfectly captured the growing fear. "Men don't just vanish. Something else is here with us. Something we can't fight with guns." This wasn't just battlefield stress. It was a deep, primal fear of the unknown, of an enemy they couldn't see or comprehend. Officially, the United States Army closed the file. The dozen men of Patrol Bravo 6 were designated as missing in action. Their families back home received solemn letters, but they were given no answers, no closure. The men were gone, and that was all anyone knew for sure. But internally, behind the closed doors of military intelligence, the case was far from closed. A classified report, which has since been declassified through the Freedom of Information Act, described the incident as an inexplicable disappearance. The official military record acknowledged that they had no logical explanation for what had happened. To this day, no physical evidence of the patrol has ever been found. No remains were ever recovered. Their names are etched on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall, a silent testament to a mystery that endures. So what really happened to those men in the dense jungles of Vietnam? Was it a secret Viet Cong weapon or a flawlessly executed trap that left no trace? Did the soldiers inadvertently stumble into a hidden labyrinth of caves, becoming lost forever in the darkness beneath the earth? Or was it something else entirely? Something beyond our modern understanding of warfare and the laws of nature? Something the army chose to bury in silence rather than admit it couldn't explain? We may never have a definitive answer. The jungle guards its secrets well. But one thing is certain. Somewhere deep in the wilderness of Vietnam, the echoes of that lost patrol remain. Their footsteps are still out there, unheard, unanswered, and largely forgotten by history. This is Past Unseen. If you watched our short version of this story, you now have the full, chilling account. But remember, this is just one of the countless stories we uncover. Every Sunday we bring you the untold, the hidden, and the forgotten chapters of our past. The patrol that vanished in Vietnam isn't just a military mystery. It's a stark reminder that war holds secrets far deeper and darker than we can imagine, secrets the world may not be ready to face. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the unknown. If you find these stories as fascinating as we do, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you never miss an expedition into the past. We'll see you next week.